Welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I am a CICC licensed immigration consultant, and this channel is all about Canadian immigration news, updates, things you should do, things you definitely should not. And in this, basically, this is our weekly roundup session, another episode of that, where we talk to you about different things that are happening in the field of immigration. And that's the reason why we are here again today, Saturday morning. Few things have happened, few things which are nice, a few things which we can expect, which are on the horizon, which look all hopeful, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And of course, please hold your questions until the end so that when we get there, we can then take your questions. Starting with the quote of the week: hold the vision and trust the process. This is something which happens a lot of time. Sometimes when there is a delay in the processing, I'm not talking about the application, just talking everything in life. When sometimes there is a bit of a delay, we sort of get demotivated. We sometimes lose the vision in the sense of where we were planning to go, and we're not very hopeful anymore. We get sidetracked, we get distracted, and we move elsewhere. So it's just the same thing. Hold the vision. And obviously trust the process. It will happen if it's meant for you. Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup, as I said, please stay up to date on Canadian immigration news and trends by following us on TikTok. I don't know why we are there, but we're there on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, of course. Starting with the Pnp Draws, this is a bit of an old one, but it's still here. So on the 29th of September, Ontario did issue invitations to apply for 1,340 candidates under the skills trade category, and 266 was the minimum score. I think we did talk about this last week because this was the 29th of September. But this also continues to be one of the most popular streams for people who are inside Canada, have a very low CRS scores, and are struggling with any of the PNP programs. And that's Ontario. British Columbia, on the 4th of October, they have invited more than 229 candidates to apply for the BC PNP through the 5 different streams that they have. They targeted the tech workers, healthcare workers, childcare workers, and other priority occupations. For people who are not aware, for British Columbia, you need to have a job offer in order to be eligible to apply for the PNP program in BC, except for one specific program, that is the International Postgraduate stream, where you will need to complete a postgraduate degree in a specific field in order to be eligible there. These are the score breakdowns. If at all you are interested, I'm sure you can always find that information on the BCPNP website as well. But again, 32 early childhood educators, 13 healthcare workers, and healthcare assistants were also invited, and the scores with minimum score in that case was only 60, which is pretty low. Now, PNP draws are looking to be, they'll be pausing the PNP draws in British Columbia. BC will be pausing their draws between October 12th and November 16th. So there will be no more draws from BC PNP from next week onwards. Manitoba has already paused their draws effective 16th of September, and they will resume only after the 16th of November. Now, the reason why this is happening, and I'm sure most people are already familiar and aware are aware of this, and this is the transition to NOC 2021. NOC 2021 basically is the nomenclature given to the NOC system, National Occupation Classification System, and after every 10 years, they will revamp the NOC codes to better align with the market requirements, whatever has happened within the labor market. And now, what we are using currently is NOC 2016. So NOC 2011 is the foundational the NOC system. 2016, they made few minor changes. So what we use is NOC 2016. And now from 16th November onwards, we will be using NOC 2021, which would also be referred to as tier system: training, education, employment, responsibilities. I think that's the full form of tier system. And the nomenclature that's the nomenclature. The classification will change. The NOC codes will change. So from 4 digits, you will move to 5-digit NOC codes. And there's no harm in checking what your NOC code would be, because you can do that comparative check of your NOC codes on the Ircc, on the Stats Canada website. In some cases, for example, if you are NOC code 2171, now the 2171 could then bifurcate into maybe 2 or 3 different NOC codes. So you will have to choose the exact correct NOC code. 2171 will not transition into a specific same NOC code. So you will have to again realign your duties and responsibilities to make sure that you choose the right knock code. At some point of time, even express entry, I am assuming, I'm in my opinion, there may be a pause to express entry draws as well, again, to bring this transition of the knock systems into the express entry into the play. Hoping that IRCC has already made those changes in the backend and will only need to sort of, with a switch of button, make the transition. But then we know IRCC, and we also know the current express entry system, what they're using, which is the GCMS, Global Case Management System, which is not really the best. I mean, you know it, we have all been seeing errors all the time. So while I'm hoping against hope that IRCC has made those transitions and changes, but knowing the system, I would say that there may be a pause, and that pause in the express entry draw obviously is going to be worrisome whenever it happens. But for the time being, NOC 2021 will create draws, will pause the draws for some of the provincial nominee programs. I'm sure other provinces will also follow suit. Ontario hasn't announced yet, but at some point of time, I'm sure they will come out and sort of make those changes and probably not come. But then they don't have to announce. I mean, they just don't have to do the draws, and that's basically it. It's provinces like Manitoba, BC, who do regular continuous draws. They obviously want to let people know. I'm sure something with Saskatchewan as well. They would also want to come out and make that announcement. They are also looking to revamp their system to accommodate the new NOC 2021. So I think this month and the next is going to be pretty exciting to understand exactly which way this whole scenario is shifting. And in other news, what do we have in other news? Okay, October is an important month for immigration. It has always been, and this now more so than ever. First things first, IRCC will announce the process for the we keep saying postgraduate, for the parents-grandparents stream. Parents-grandparents stream usually launches towards the third quarter of the year. We are actually in the fourth now. And so we are expecting that to be launched or that to be announced anytime soon. The expectation is high that this will happen sometimes later this month. So if at all you are one of those individuals who are looking to sponsor your parents or grandparents for permanent residence in Canada, there are a couple of things that you need to be aware of. First of all, you should be in Canada and you should have eligible income for at least 3 years as per your family size, including the parents in the family. And that amount of income you should be having in Canada, not outside Canada. You should have been paying your taxes. You should have been, have your pay stubs, pay slips, notice of assessments, T4s, and if you're self-employed, then your notice of assessments and your 2125s and 125s, etc. as well. And once the program opens, you will be able to file your expression of interest, unless they have changed the system. If they're going to follow the same system like last year, you will first file your expression of interest and then you will wait. You will wait to be drawn. Once you get drawn, you will then have, I think, 60 days, in most cases, 60 days to submit the application for your parents. From there on, then the time cycle for the processing starts, which, I've seen some very fantastic results. Some people got approved in less than 6 months, which was brilliant. But expect 2 years on an average for processing times for your parents, of course. So that's the parents-grandparents sponsorship program. We are expecting between 15 to 20,000, maybe more. I think this year's multi-year level plan mentioned about 20 to 25,000. So let's see how many slots get opened up for that program. That is always a very popular one and always has a lot of interest from people. The next one we have is the immigration levels plan. 2023 and 2025 will be announced by 1st of November. It could happen on the 31st of October, the Halloween, or it could be on the 1st of November. I'm hoping 1st of November, not 31st, because it could be very scary, right? But yes, so we are expecting multi-year level plan. The reason why it has become even more interesting is because when the 2022 to 2024 was announced, a lot of changes was made into the immigration quota or the levels plan for 2022, which basically one of the biggest one was that FHS, Federal High Skilled Quota, was cut into less than almost half, exactly half. So from 110,000, it was cut down to only 55,000. For next year, it has been planned for 2023. It has been planned to 75,000 people for FHS, Federal High Skill, which is express entry. So we want to see if what they're proposing for 2023, 2024, 2025 still sits in the same line, or are they going to make any further changes? Now, mind you, as of now, they still haven't made any decision if at all they're going to launch any special program for Ukrainians who came to Canada. So they did give Ukrainians work permits. So there was a work permit pilot for Ukrainian nationals who were obviously fleeing the war. But there was no PR program announced. There are a lot of people in the think tank who believe that there may be a PR program that may be announced for people who have transitioned to Canada on work permit, but maybe offered a pathway as well. Hong Kong nationals were, given that opportunity. Obviously, that would basically mean that there has to be some more cuts made. Obviously, there was no TR to PR, as we all know by now. That there was no separate program that a lot of people were looking forward to. None of that was announced. So we want to see if FHS, which for next year is 75,000, if it stays at that number or is it increased. If it increases, that would be incredible, because that is something which we need. With FHS improving, or if the numbers for quota for FHS improving, would basically means it will have a direct impact of how many invitations can be issued. More people getting invited means more people being able to make their way with lower scores. So that is something we have to keep our eyes on to see what changes that one brings. Stats Canada, after a very long time, first time in 5 years, will be publishing the data on immigration in 2020, of immigration in 2021. So that is something which you're looking forward to as well. It is also likely, and this is something which all of us are looking forward to, and that is the next express entry draw on the 12th of October. And we are absolutely anticipating that the scores will plummet below 500 for the first time after the draws have resumed on the 6th of July. That is something which we really, really are hoping, praying, fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed, hoping and waiting to see that draw happen, because that is going to bring relief to so many people. As of now, the scores have remained, let me bring this one instead. As of now, the scores have remained more than 500. If you can see the pool breakdown, that looks pretty scary as well. Let me just bring this here. Yes. Between 501 to 600, 4,411 people were in the pool on 26th of September. But of course, there was an express entry draw on the 28th of September, which cleared out most of that number, and which left us with the remaining number of profiles in the express entry pool were between the 500 and 600 range. After the draw was about 1140. That number is not exact, because obviously the pool breakdown was for 2 days before the draw. So we do not know how many more people got added. But if we are to consider that how many people get added into the express entry pool, draw on draw basis, so roughly 1,000 people were added earlier. So we are expecting something similar would be added into the express entry pool this time as well. So that would still bring you roughly at 2,500 number. Now, hoping and praying that they continue with the invitations the way they have, and they put an increment of 500 over the last draw. Last draw was 3,750. They put an increment of 500, brings to 40 to 50 invitations. Then we are expecting the CRS score for the next draw to be in the range of 495 to 497. That is what the expectation is. I am thinking more on the higher side. I'm thinking more like 497-ish, probably 8 even possible, but 497-ish or 498 possible. And the reason for that is the number of people in the in the pool. So between 491 to 500, you still have about 6,000 people. There would be about 2,500 some odd people above 500. Also, there would be some PNP people who would have received the nomination, so they would be there as well. So the number of people below 500 who would possibly or prospectively get invited with this specific draw is going to be in the range of about 1,000 to 1,200, give or take a few. Again, depends on how many number of nominations are issued. So with only 1,200 getting cleared out of 6,000, my opinion is that the draws are going to be slightly on the higher side of 497, 498 kind of a number. But let's see. As I said, fingers are crossed, and we are hoping to see a better score there, and definitely below 500. That's what we're all looking forward to. The good news for this week, the great news of this week, which Sean Fraser announced yesterday, and that was that the international students will now be allowed to work more than 20 hours a week. And this exemption will take effect from the 15th of November. And this exemption will be valid until the 31st of December 2023. Now, why is this such an important announcement? Now, when I posted this, and then on the Twitter, there has been a bit of, I've been getting a bit of flack, because I also said that uh, I would hate to have Sean Fraser's job. I would hate it, because no matter what they do or they don't do, they obviously get flack for it. Nobody's ever happy, because that's how life is, right? You can never ever make everybody happy. It's not going to happen. There will always be people who will be unhappy with whatever decision that has been taken. So for example, let's take this one. So the international students can now work off campus for more than 20 hours per week, and this is effective 15th of November. Now obviously there are a lot of students who are quite happy with this, but equally there are these people, I'm not even sure they're international students. I don't know who they are, but they're unhappy with this because they think, obviously, I mean, it makes no difference that this is a hogwash, that this is, another rubbish announcement which means nothing. And they're being treated as slaves. They're being, Canada's taking advantage of them, etc., 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 etc. But let's break this down. First of all, as an international student, when you're coming to Canada, your primary objective is to study, not to work. Because if you're going to be working and that is your primary objective, your application will not be approved. So everything that you state in your application as an international student is that you're going to you're going to study in Canada, and that's primarily, and that you have enough money. You have the money to pay your tuition fee, you have the money to pay your living expenses. So working is never the criteria based on which you come to Canada. But you know it, I know it, and I'm sure IRCC definitely knows it, that most people who come to Canada are not coming for the quality of education that Canada offers. They're coming because they seek a pathway for permanent residence. At least, I would say, more than 90% of the students are such. That is the reason why they want to come to Canada to study. If they were really looking for quality of education, I'm sure there are some other countries which may be offering some of those programs. I mean, there are few colleges and universities in Canada which are absolutely top-notch, but then, hello, there are some colleges which are like absolutely nowhere there, and yet they recruit thousands of students each year. So breaking this one down, a lot of international students who come to Canada actually come from very humble backgrounds. They really, really struggle to make their ends meet. 20 hours a week is a very paltry sum in terms of what you can meet with your living expenses. A lot of international students are very, very hardworking. They will actually take one semester off if they can, which is their scheduled break, so that they can work full time, so that they can collect enough money so they can pay for the tuition fee for the next semester. It's not to take away from their interest or their hard work in pursuing their studies or their career of choice. But the fact is, not everybody is equal. Some people can afford it, some people cannot afford it. And a lot of people, as I said, come from very humble backgrounds, and they really need to work to make sure that they are able to fulfill their living expenses, obligations, pay for their own tuition fee, and in very few cases, maybe also contribute and help their parents or their family back home. Nothing wrong with it. I know of international students who work for more than 40 hours if they can. Some of them are working on cash jobs. Now, when they work on cash jobs, what happens? The employers, some of our employers are such, can't say that. They abuse them, they exploit these international students, because they know that if they offer cash jobs, they would be able to offer them lower salaries, sometimes not pay them salaries, sometimes delay their salaries, sometimes exploit them making them work more hours, sometimes making them work in hazardous conditions or not providing them with proper safety gear. They exploit them in every possible manner, because they know the international students, they need the money, and the only way they will get that extra money is by doing some cash jobs, under the table jobs. With this announcement, yes, Canada benefits, no doubt about it. I mean, why would you even think that Canada would do anything if it is not in their benefit? Why would they do it? I mean, they are not here to sort of do anything without any purpose. So obviously, by doing this, it helps with their labor market shortages and the problems that are happening with a lot of job vacancies that is happening, of course. Also, with so many more students now, instead of cash jobs, if they're going to do jobs on record, on paper, that basically means addition of taxes, and obviously CRA gets to collect some more taxes. Yes, Canada definitely benefits out of it, but so do international students. Now they can actually work without the fear of IRCC coming down on them, or fear of working illegally, fear of exploitation from all these so-called abusive employers. They do not have to work under duress. They don't have to be harassed. and they can absolutely work as many hours as they can afford to work, in the sense like, while they have to work or they want to work, at the same time, they have to also be mindful of their course load. They have to be mindful that they are still studying here for a reason, because they're looking for a pathway. Please bear in mind, as an international student, the period of work that you're working is not counted towards your immigration application. You're on a study permit. This is being as a provision being given to you so that it helps you build your Canadian experience. It helps you obviously meet some expenses if you want to, but this does not give you the eligibility under Canadian experience class. So, don't fall for that one if somebody tells you that. Also, you are under no obligation to work. If you want to work, work. If you don't want to work, don't work. So, but it's good to have the flexibility. And that's what my argument was. But of course, as I said, a lot of people continue to be unhappy, and they can never, I'm sure Sean Fraser can never make everybody happy. There are people who say conduct CEC draws. Well, all the draws that are being conducted as of right now, majority of the people who are getting invitations are CEC. And if the levels plan only allow for so many people per year to be coming into Canada under a specific category, then that's how it is. But for him to go ahead and do another draw of 75 CRS CEC that they did in 2021, it's not going to happen. And the reason why it's not going to happen is because the situation has changed. We are no longer under COVID. This is no longer, a pandemic. So it's not going to happen. So if you're thinking, if you're believing, if you feel that the scores are ever going to plummet down to those kind of levels, it's not going to happen. Unless, God forbid, there is another of those situations which would force their hand to make some kind of a decision. Same thing with TR to PR. I have been giving you logical explanation of why TR to PR is not logically going to happen. But yet people are angry because why TR to PR is not happening. Because the situation doesn't demand for such a program to happen. And as I said, Canada will always do whatever is in their favor, whatever they need to do for the interest of their country, for the interest of their citizens, for the interest of their, for their interest primarily. So for us to feel bad about it, that's not going to work. I mean, we can feel as bad as we want to feel bad. I mean, but who's listening and who cares, to be very honest? So at the end of the day, what we need to do is we need to figure out a better program. We need to figure out a better pathway. There are people who are saying, I've been waiting for 5 years. Why are you waiting for 5 years? Okay. If you're waiting for 5 years, you already missed the 75 CRS. You already missed the TR to PR. So who are you blaming and why are you angry? Why aren't you looking for a better pathway? There are more than 80 immigration programs that Canada offers. Surely one of those programs is definitely going to work for you. So if you are inside Canada and you still have a problem with the programs, then the problem is not with Canada not giving you a pathway. The problem is with you not being able to identify the right program that you should be looking at, or you not being able to put in that effort or work that requires for you to put in so that you can get to that permanent residence at the earliest. So that is probably something what you should be looking at, instead of being upset and angry with what Canada is doing or not doing about giving you pathways. They have given the pathways. Now it's only a matter of us making it work and figuring it out what is the best solution out. So this was basically that news for international students to work off campus over for 20 hours a week. And that's pretty much the presentation for this week. Connect with us on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, of course, Twitter, and hit on that like button if you obviously thought this was of any value and if you're still here. And of course, please do subscribe to the channel, because even I need some motivation to keep doing this, right? I want to see those numbers going up. Numbers always sort of make you believe that somebody out there is watching and gaining at least some value from this. So that's all of this done. Let's see the questions. And starting with, is there any movement with Montreal visa office? Was positive so long, but as time passes, it's been depressing. Please share Montreal visa office email ID. When do you think we can see any movement? Well, I can't tell you what you can see and when you can see or when you cannot see pertaining to any specific visa office. I don't keep that kind of data or record in the sense of which visa office is processing at what point of time for what kind of an application. Basically, you can't really do anything about this if your application is in the processing queue, except for just waiting it out and having a bit of patience. I know sometimes it's easier said than done. I mean, I can sit here and say very easily, have patience, have patience. And for you who have put their life on hold, who have put their life decisions on hold, it's extremely frustrating. And I'm with you on that. But as I said, there is nothing that can be done. You cannot go to somebody and push your application forward. You cannot send them an email and have them process your application faster. You cannot raise a web form and say, please push my application faster. It's not going to happen. So all that you can do is basically probably deviate your mind from this wait for this time being, continue with your life the way it is. And whenever this happens, then that would be good news. And you can then take this process forward in terms of move to Canada. But I wish you all the best. I hope you hear the decision soon. Too many questions and concerns. Some experts are saying starting spring, most likely you will need either Canadian education experience or job offer to make it. Your thoughts? My thoughts are absolutely the same. Starting spring, it's going to be very, very difficult. And I will tell you why it's going to be difficult. Let me just see if I can pull up that page. I'm not sure how many of you have read through that document. This one. This is the bills. The strategies to expand the pathways for PR. This was a 39-page document issued by Ircc in response to Randeep Sarai's motion M44, which basically we all thought was going to be the flagship program which would launch the TR to PR again. Obviously, it was a damn squid. Nothing happened. All that they did was give us a bit of a 39 pages for our bedtime reading or bathroom reading, whatever you prefer. But what this document does is for us to get a bit of an insight as to what Ircc is planning and thinking. Now, as I said, I'm not sure how many of you have read this document, but if you were to read this document, all of it is talking about giving provisions, pathways for people who are inside Canada. There is also talk about revamping the express entry system and basically releasing a new version of the express entry system whereby they are reviewing the points that they give for the Canadian education, work experience, job offer, and those will drastically change the whole landscape of Canadian immigration. If at all they are going to review those changes, if they're going to add more points for Canadian immigration, work experience, etc., then that would make federal skilled workers even at the more back foot than they currently are. I mean, look at it. Right now, if you are a 29-year-old master's degree, 3 years of work experience, you have IELTS CLB 9, you can only score 469. That's the max. That is all of this assuming you have no Canadian connection, no Canadian work experience, no education, no sibling, and that's all. So you're a master's degree holder, you're 29 years old, you have 3 years of work experience, valid of course, and you have CLB 9. You can only score 469. Tell me, does 469 have a chance? No, not a chance. There is no chance for 469 at this point of time with the given trend. Then that person can push their scores from CLB 9 to CLB 10. If that person comes to CLB 10, now the same individual with the master's degree, CLB 10, 3 years of work experience, 29 years of age, can go up to 481. 481, even right now, with this, the way the things are, and with the way the things will be for the next few months, 481 has a very difficult chance. Okay, I'm sure it has, but it's going to take a bit of effort from Ircc to release more invitations and continue with the draws before we are going to see 481. So if a 29-year-old with masters, with having no Canadian connections, cannot basically get through, then who will? And what are the opportunities? What are the prospects? So if somebody told you, and that's what he's saying, if somebody said that starting spring, most likely you will need Canadian education experience or job offer to make it, then that probably is true, because this particular document, and this document also refers to the Bill C-19, and that's where it says that the legislation requires that the categories be linked to the attainment of an economic goal. So he's talking about the Bill C-19 categories that will be created in the same documents. If I was to scroll up, that is where it talks about. So it was a continuation of the same paragraph, and this is in reference to the Bill C-19, and that they would be establishing categories with particular attributes. And here it says that the legislation requires that the categories be linked to the economic goal, and the implementation of these authorities will require the changes to Ircc's IT systems. The exact timings is yet to be determined. However, Ircc anticipates that these changes will be in place by spring 2023. And they will be applicable to the suite of programs which are managed under the Express Entry, which is the federal high skill programs. So that's what it's going to be looking like. That whole 39-page document has only 3 lines which are talking about people who are outside Canada, and all they mention is that they have to also look at some pathway, some program, so that people who do not have any Canadian work experience or education can still be invited to Canada. So it is definitely going to become more difficult, no doubt about it. Everything that is here is indicative of it. And this is also ties in with the fact when people are saying, why are there no CEC draws? Well, one of another reasons why there are no CEC draws is also because this Bill C-19 movement, which will start next year, when it will be implemented, it will basically give a lot of importance to people already inside Canada. That, I mean, all signs are pointing towards it. Of course, this is my opinion at this point of time, because no announcements have been made. Starting next year, when the parliament comes into session and the immigration minister has to make these categories announcements, then we would have much better understanding of what that would be. But everything is indicative that there will be more preference, there would be more weightage given to people who are inside Canada with work experience, education. Of course, if you have a job offer, that will make a huge difference. So if anybody's telling it is going to be more difficult starting spring, then yes, I also think the same. Spring is post spring 2023 is when the Bill C-19 will be implemented. But mind you, now when you're saying all of this, even people who are outside Canada will continue to have an opportunity with Bill C-19. So for example, if they have identified certain occupation codes which they are really struggling to find, which are really struggling to fill, market priorities as indicating that particular knock code, then those people would definitely have a preference, will definitely be one of those individuals, or people would be those groups of people who would be included under those categories. And if you're included under those categories, then your CRS scores could be slightly even lower and you would still be included as part of those invitations. So it has the good and the bad. The good is for people who would be in those categories. The bad is for people who would not be in those categories. They would really have to rethink their strategies and align how they wish to sort of make this happen for themselves. 481 since 2022 August. I'm losing points each year in August now. Should I look for LMIA based on my score or hope? I'm on postgraduate work permit, expires in Feb 2024. Well, if I was in your place and if I'm in Canada, I would be looking at option for PNP already. Though I do expect 481 to hit sometimes early next year, probably. Let's see what the pool breakdown is. Pool breakdown says 491 to 500 is 5,985 people. 481 to 490 is about 10,000 people. So IRCC still needs to clear. This is about 15,000, 16,000. And in addition to 16,000, there are also profiles above the score of 501, roughly about 2,000 some there. And you're looking these 17,000 profiles to be cleared before it can hit 481. And also keep in mind that this is a dynamic number, which basically means each 2 weeks, there will be more people who will get added into the express entry pool with those scores. So you're looking at roughly, if you want to sort of take for the sake of calculation, you're looking at roughly 20,000 people to be cleared out. If I say 20,000 people getting cleared out, and that happens, let's say with 4,000 invitations, each draw, you're looking at roughly 5 to 6 draws before that can happen. That is hoping that there is no pause in the draws. So with 6 draws, if at all we expect that, and obviously there is no way to predict how many people will continue to get added into the express entry pool with high scores without having that projection in mind. If you're looking at 6 draws, I am saying 481 should ideally hit by Feb, Jan, end Feb. That looks prospective. Feb for sure, it looks prospective, provided everything remains the same. Now, I also said that there is a possibility that there could be the pause in express entry draws. Now, if there is a pause in express entry draws, then that also puts a bit of a spanner in the whole calculation, because depending on how long that pause is for, it basically means that the draws would again not go down but rise up because of the people who keep getting added into the profile. So if you have an opportunity of getting an LMIA, for sure, I mean, just take it, get on with it, because with LMIA, your score is going to be 531 and you will get the draw on the next one on the 12th of October and you'll be on your way. But apart from that, as a backup plan, make sure you have your employer support and that your employer is willing to support your application for PNP if all else fails. So that is something which you can take a look at. CEC inland applicant receives an ITA while on vacation in India for 4 months. Can he accept and submit all the documents from India? Also, is medical done in Canada remains valid? Well, yes, you can. And at this point of, yes, you can submit your application from India. The only difference is going to be is what do you choose as your country of residence? Okay, that is where a lot of things change, because depending on your country of residence, the requirement of police clearance changes. Okay, based on country of residence, the way your application will be processed, that will change. Whether a COPR will be issued to you virtually once it is approved, or your passport request will be issued for your stamping. So what are you going to indicate as your country of residence? 4 months is a long time. Even by any standards of vacation, 4 months is a long time. Do you then say that your country of residence is India, and then that processes as an outland applicant and everything gets done that way, and your PCC requirement changes, your medical requirement changes because you're no longer in Canada, or you mention your country of residence in Canada. So I would, while it is absolutely possible that you can submit your application from India while being in India, I would rather do it from Canada. It sort of makes it faster, easier, better. My employer in Canada has taken off for about 6 weeks in total for a calendar year that I worked for him. He did not pay me for these 6 weeks. Can I count these 6 weeks to calculate my work experience? No, you cannot. And the reason why you cannot is for any period of time that you did not get paid, for whatever reason that might be. If it was not a paid period of work experience, then that period of work experience cannot be counted for your application. Anyone received work permit extension in mail according to the new public policy? Well, no, we haven't heard of anybody receiving of that yet. On the contrary, there are a lot of people who haven't heard or rather haven't received any emails from Ircc for the round 2 either. So that is something which we are all keeping our eyes on, but nothing as this point of time. I have applied for a student visa on July 2022, but the application got rejected on October 7th, and I'm planning to reapply. Will I be eligible for off-work campus authorization without restriction? You would be once your application is approved and you have started studying. Then you would be allowed to work off campus without any restriction after the 15th of November. My working holiday work permit expires on the 9th of May. The new study permit is in force from 20th of August. Despite that the school starts on May 8th, can I still work full-time until May 7th? Okay, so if you have an existing work permit that allows you to work full-time, you can work full-time. I got my LOE, letter of employment, from my last employer in March 2022. I'm expecting ITA 2023 March. Should I get a newer LOE, or will this have to be outdated? You can use this document as long as this document was dated after the last day of your work experience. So for example, if you worked till the 28th of February and you have received a document on the 1st of March, then you can use it, whether it's in 2022, 2023, 2024, it doesn't matter. As long, because it already covers your entire duration of work. It already indicates what you have worked and how long you're working. So it's absolutely fine. You can use that document. Is it pass eligibility? That's a new word. I've never heard of that one. If one is on implied status, yes, you can. Implied status is a valid legal status in Canada. And if you're an implied status, it's absolutely possible to get your PR approved. As of 2023 approaching, C19 is expected in early 23. Will it open pathways for low CRS scores, say around 400 to 450 for knock codes, all those knock codes? Well, it definitely looks like there would be an opportunity for knock codes which are considered to be in industries or in labor market or are under the labor market priorities. I can't tell you what the CRS score would look like. And IRCC is also expected to announce these categories sometimes early next year, probably Jan, worst case Feb. We should be able to see those categories being announced. Once we know that, then it will be a better way to speculate. At this point of time, I know you're basically asking me about the IT knock codes, and while it seems that those could definitely be included because there is a huge demand within the IT sector, and Canada has been actively trying to encourage a lot of companies from the US to come and set up in Canada. And one way of doing that is, excuse me, one way of doing that is by showing them, or by showing the employers, that there would be willing available pool of talent in Canada. So yes, it's a possibility, but there is no way to predict what the low CRS score, or how low the CRS score can go into that section. Can we work for two employers during internship? Well, again, this is a very vague question, in the sense like, where is this internship? Is it inside Canada? Is it outside Canada? Is this internship part of your study program? Were you assigned by the college? So yeah, but technically you can work for two employers. If it's inside Canada, then you can only work for the employer during a period of co-op, if that's what you were doing, who was assigned to you by your college. But if it is outside Canada, you can work for as many employers as you want. That is not a problem. I got my PPR request today. Should I move to Canada immediately, or search for jobs from India and then move to Canada? Well, first of all, congratulations. This is great news. Incredible. Because of so many people who are waiting, you finally managed to get through, and that's great. The decision to move immediately or search for jobs from India is something that you will have to make. I would suggest that you start planning your transition into Canada. You don't have to move today or tomorrow. You can plan it, let's say 2 years. Sorry, you can plan for, let's say, 2 months, 3 months down the line. And in this 2 months, 3 months, do ample of research as to which province you want to come and live in, which city you want to come and live in. What are the, if you're married and have children, then schooling options. If, which localities would you like to live in? What are the rentals going on? Do you want to be doing a basement rental? Are you able to afford a full house for yourself, or a condo? What is your affordability? What you can do with that? What is your current savings? How far can you stretch your savings? What all would you be able to obtain in terms of benefit if you were going to come to Canada now versus later? Definitely start networking, reach out to different people, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's through the jobs on the job bank, whether it's on the jobs on Indeed, Monster, Workopolis. Start applying, because one of the biggest requirements for most people who are looking for employees inside Canada is that they are legally authorized to work in Canada. So the fact that you have your passport request and you have your PR approved, then that gives you that benefit to say that, yes, I am legally authorized. If you won't get a virtual Canadian number, you can get that very easily. Some of them costs you only $4 or $5 or $5 a month. That would then also give the employers a provision or a way to reach out to you in case they have to schedule your interviews. Be open to remote interviews at this point of time. And if that's a possibility, you can most definitely take that ahead. And that would also help you plan your transition in a better manner, depending on how quickly you can plan the job. 2174, I think you have a great opportunity there. Depending on your specific skill sets and your specialization, you could land a job pretty quick. So wish you all the best, and that's great news. Is the score allocation for various criteria, for example, marital status, language, etc., going to change next year? Well, at this point of time, no, it's not going to change. Nothing is going to change at this point of time. We don't know. But for Canadian experience and Canadian education, it is most definitely being reviewed. And it is being reviewed because, let's see where I can find it. I need to find it. Okay. Definitely for Canadian work experience, Canadian education, they are looking to, I got it here. Yeah. Under the pillar 2, it says their IRCC aims to reform the express entry system by increasing flexibility in the immigration selection tool. That is referring to Bill C-19. They want to increase the Francophone immigration by selecting more candidates with specific attributes such as in Canada experience. You see, now, even if they will start selecting more people from Francophone community or for Francophone immigration, it would be with specific attributes such as in Canada experience. So again, the emphasis of being inside Canada. Department will also review the comprehensive ranking system criteria under express entry, particularly points awarded for Canadian work experience, education, language proficiency, and job offer. And the last section is foundation for the next version of express entry will include more opportunities to transition to permanent residence for workers at all skill levels. So this is what is being indicated. Definitely, there is no mention of marital status, language, etc. So I don't see any more points being awarded for language or marital status. Of course, the points would be for work experience and Canadian education and job offer. I have recently reappeared for IELTS. My CRS is 472. Do you think it will suffice for an acquiring an ITA till that time? I wish I could give you that answer, but I can't. I don't know when 472 is going to get hit, and we don't even know under what circumstances and under what additional attributes that may be added to it. So, well, I wish you all the best, and I hope you get drawn before that point of time, but I for sure cannot tell you when it will get hit. My wife got a postgraduate work permit and expires. The husband applies for a study permit. Does she get an open work permit? And when I finish, do I get a postgraduate work permit on her open work permit? Okay. let's read this again. My wife got a postgraduate work permit and it expires. The husband applies for a study permit. Does she get an open work permit when I finish? Do I get postgraduate work permit and her an open? Okay, I'm getting really confused with who gets what. But if your wife has a postgraduate work permit and it's expiring, but you are an international student who is studying in Canada, then your wife can apply for an open work permit based on your status. But before she does that, my suggestion for you would be to first change her status to a visitor, because there is that provision in the law which tries to create a loophole of one person trying to use the other person's status to applying for their own open work permit. So apply for a visitor status, change of status to a visitor. That would nullify that loophole. And then based on that, once you have your study permit or once you have your open work permit or postgraduate work permit, your wife can easily flagpole and get hers, or you can apply online. But that was a bit of a, seemed like a tongue twister kind of a thing. Can a TRV visitor visa convert to study permit? Okay, this term convert has been made popular by agents, whether it's in India, Pakistan, Middle East. Okay, so what you need to understand is there is no such thing as conversion. You cannot convert one work permit or one status to another. There is no converting it. Okay, what you can do is you can apply for a new status. So if you come to Canada as a visitor, you do not automatically get an eligibility to apply for a student for a study permit, and neither is the criteria easier for you. Okay, what you can do is, if you are in Canada on a visit visa, you can choose to study for a program which is less than 6 months while you're on a study visa. You don't need while you're on a visit visa, you don't need a study visa for it. So if that program that you're studying, which is for less than 6 months, that is a program which leads to, as a pre-qualification to a full-fledged proper program, then you can enroll after completing this less than 6 month program. Then you can enroll for that full-fledged long duration program and then apply for a study permit. Okay, and then you will be eligible to apply for a study permit while being inside Canada. If you come on a visit visa and you want to apply for a study permit for a regular program, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year program, you cannot apply inside Canada. The application will still be processed outside Canada, and you get absolutely no benefit that you are on a visit visa and you're inside Canada. So people think that because I'm on a visit visa, I'm inside Canada, I would have a better preference, or my application will be processed inside Canada. That is not true. You can only process inside study permit application if at all you have completed a program which is considered as a pre-qualifying program for a longer duration of program, and the pre-qualifying program was less than 6 months. I hope that makes sense. Can you please elaborate on purpose of your visit to Canada is not consistent with temporary stay? Took your advice to go study route with PG diploma course, but got refusal. Well, first of all, I'm sorry that you got refused, but that's how applications are. The purpose of your visit to Canada is not consistent is a very generic reason that is given by Ircc on their most recent study permit refusals. The best way to tackle this or address this is by applying for what we refer to as CAPES note or GCMS notes, so that you can understand what exactly was the visa office's concerns. This is a generic reason. What you need to understand is what was the exact reason that the visa officer was not happy about. Then you can reapply by addressing those specific concerns that the visa officer had. Okay, currently on implied status after applying for work permit extension and also under the 18-month public policy. PR file going on simultaneously. Will I get PR since I'm on implied status? Yes, you would get it. There is no problem. Implied status is equally a valid status. Okay, a lot of questions which are repeated. You are doing amazing things for Canadian University. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Viral. Okay, Imran says, what is the time duration to get the visit visa? Applied for visa in the month of August 2022. Well, you can check the processing times on the IRCC website. They obviously indicate the specific processing time based on the country that you're applying from. But yes, there are significant delays. You can expect 4.5, 5 months easily at this point of time. With CRS of 499, should I apply for upfront medicals or wait for ITA? Well, you can apply for upfront medicals, and I know people are quite anxious of getting that process done and out of the way, but it gives you no advantage if you apply for, or rather, if you get your upfront medicals done before the ITA. I mean, like, what's the rush? Wait, get your ITA, prepare your application. Once you're ready to submit and you know everything is done, then get your medicals done. That way, you will always have a longer validity period at the time of your approval or on that other side of things. And that is when you will have a much longer duration and you will be able to transition and prepare and plan your travel better. Because your duration of your visa, duration of your validity of your COPR, of your visa to come to Canada is directly linked to the validity of your medicals. Normally, it's 12 months from the date you have taken your medicals or from the date the medical center has updated your results to the IRCC portal. That's usually the time duration, and you want to make the best use of it. So there's no advantage in doing it upfront. But if you're asking me a question, can you do it upfront? Yes, you can, of course. Is the rule of working off campus applicable? Who would file student visa for May 2023 intake as well? Well, it is applicable to people who would get approved or who would have filed on 7th of October and later. There is no problem with that. As long as you're in Canada and you have an approval, you're an approved visa, that is the most important factor. Can we fly to India when we are on Bridge Open work permit? Even after we have submitted our application after receiving an ITA, my postgraduate work permit is expiring by Jan 23. Yes, you can travel. The only requirement is that you should have a valid TRV to return back to Canada. Can YouTube bloggers like you influence the IRCC in making the decisions? Well, I so wish that was a possibility, but no, we can't. IRCC has a very conservative think tank, and these people are a mixture of old school of thought. They are a mixture of people who are very conservative in how the whole process should be taken care of. They also have people who have political agendas in mind and how things would play out politically once the programs or the policy changes are announced. If they were going to start listening to the YouTube bloggers and influencers, not myself, but there are so many out there, then they themselves would be in a mess because each person has a different opinion. I have an opinion, so does somebody else, and so does somebody else. And if they have to follow different people's opinions, they would be left nowhere. So, as I said, they obviously plan their policy decisions after a lot of thought as to what impact it makes. And for them, I think a lot has to do with the political agenda and also the lobbying that is done by different stakeholders. So there could be, for example, a logistics lobby, or there could be a lobby of certain business organizations who would lobby for more provisions for employees in that sector. And that's how a lot of these policy changes are done. Are pay stubs with less than 60 hours accepted for CEC? Well, what you should be looking at is that how many hours per week did you work, and are you able to establish and prove it? If there is any shortfall, then I would suggest you get additional work done and provide those pay stubs to make sure that your work experience is considered as valid. A BTech computer, 3 years work experience in Canada, pursuing to be a chef. Can I study baking in Canada? Well, technically, yes, of course, you can study whatever you want to. But for the process of your study permit application, you have to be able to explain and prove and convince IRCC that this is that you're choosing this path of study for what reason. and how does it benefit you in future? At this point of time, from the brief overview, it does not look progressive. I mean, it doesn't make sense that you have been in BTech computer and now you want to study baking. Those are not linked. So it becomes your responsibility to ensure that you are able to convince the IRCC visa officer as to what he does. Watching his video is a complete waste of time. He's ignoring many comments. This is not the right place for my clarification. Absolutely. The right place for your clarification would be this: askkubeir.com/appointment. Make an appointment, make a booking, and then I can talk to you one-on-one and give you the reasons or clarifications to your questions. If you're looking for coming to a live stream and then hoping every single comment is going to be answered, well, I have to break it to you. Regretfully, it will not be answered because there are just too many of them. And I'm sorry I wasted your time. I'm sure you can find something else that will keep you entertaining, because trust me, YouTube has plenty of that. Goods to follow list. How do we add jewelry details? Kindly advise. Thank you in advance. Well, what you need to do is you can go to any authorized jewelry evaluator. If you are in India, I mean, I do not know which country you are in, but if you're in India, there are plenty of government authorized jewelry evaluator, because Indian government also needs that jewelry evaluation. So you can go to them. What they will do is they'll take pictures and they will make a list of your jewelry items and they will assign the value to you. You can use that as a copy. When you come, you can declare your goods to follow, and you can declare your you can add a copy of that jewelry evaluation to suggest what you will be bringing in at a later date. Score is 496. When will I get an invitation? Probably in the next 2 draws, if nothing else changes. Any possibility in future if outland applicant under family class sponsorship can apply work permit? Well, there has been a lot of talk by IRCC. It has been part of a lot of suggestive plans that they do intend to, make a provision for people who are applying for sponsorship, that their spouses should be offered a work permit. But at this point of time, nothing concrete has come out. But in future, it can happen. Yes, of course, anything can happen. Okay. Kaloa, thank you for the super chat. First work permit at port of entry for visa exempt. Pros and cons. Okay. What kind of work permit? That is very, very important. If you are visa exempt, are you also LMIA exempt? That is first criteria, because you can only apply for work permit at the port of entry if you are also LMIA exempt for the job offer that you might have. So you still need a job offer. You will still need to pay compliance fee. You will still need to sort of show why you are eligible to apply for that work permit. A lot of things have a prospect of going wrong in such a situation. Instead, at the first time, at the port of entry, at the airport specifically, you just come to Canada. And when you are coming to Canada, do make sure you express your purpose of visit to be that you may be looking to apply for a work permit. Maybe. You don't have to say that you're here to work, because if you say that, then you will be refused entry. What you can say that you are here to meet with your employer, you have a prospective job, and you're looking to sort of seek some sort of solution with that. Because at a later date, when you go back to the port of entry, let's say to Flagpole, and there the visa officer, border officer is going to ask you that when you came to Canada for the first time, what did you tell them? Did you say that you're here to work? Did you say you're here to visit? And that should not be contradictory. So applying for the first time your work permit, unless you are aware exactly what you need to do, then don't take that chance. But if you know what you need to do, you have your LMIA exempt, you have your documentation in order, you know exactly what you're doing, then there is no harm in doing so. Otherwise, it's always best to first come into Canada and then flagpole by going to the nearest US-Canada border. Okay, we'll just take a couple of other questions and then we gotta go. Do you see IRCC rolling back this date cutoff limitation for international student working hours? Consider that it could be discriminating towards students from a same intake. No, I don't at this point of time. They would have really thought about this date. So at this point of time, international students who are currently studying, at this point of time, you cannot start working, more than 20 hours a week. It is only effective 15th of November. So people who will sort of start working now and then expect this to be in effect retroactively, it won't happen. This period of work can still be only 20 hours. If you work for more than 20 hours, it would be illegal period of work. You will land into some very serious trouble. Okay, This is the last question because this is also very interesting. I completed my landing in August this year post PPR. I'm not sure what you mean by post PPR. Are you saying that this was post pandemic? I don't know. Okay. Is it a wise decision to leave a high paying job and move to Canada in the current economic conditions? Excellent question. A lot of people are always thinking, is it a good decision? Is it a good choice to move to Canada if you have? Well, the first things people need to understand is that if you are moving to Canada because you think you will be able to make more money, wrong reason to move to Canada. If that is your reason, it's in a lot of cases it will not happen. In some cases it might, but in a lot of cases it won't happen. Okay. One of the reasons being taxes are quite high. I mean, ridiculously high, and it is what it is, right? You pay for a lot of things which you don't see, but you're paying for it. So that's how it is. But so first of all, you need to identify why you are moving. As I said, if you're moving for the reason because you think you're going to get paid better, then that should not be a reason. If you're moving for any other reason, for example, a passport of a first world country, of course. If you're looking at the true or the real freedom, of course. If you are looking at less density of human population, excellent choice. If you're looking at unlimited resources for water and clean air, excellent choice. If you're moving because of people attribute, polite, amazing people, very nice to talk to, and which completely makes a big difference in how you behave, how you interact, how you lead your life, great choice. If you're looking for a good work-life balance kind of a situation, great choice. But as I said, if you have a good high-paying job, cushy job, what comes, again, I do not know which country you're coming from, so that changes a lot of perspective. If you're coming from Europe, you probably will not have a problem. It will probably be at par. But if you're coming from any of the Asian countries, if you're coming from Middle East, then it makes a big difference, because whatever you're getting paid, it also comes with some creature comforts. So it comes with probably house help, it comes with domestic help, it comes with somebody who can cook for you, somebody who can clean for you, somebody who can drive for you, somebody who will teach your children, somebody who will come and tutor your children, or somebody who will come and do those small things that you don't want to do yourself because you're busy watching Netflix, or you're busy doing your own work when you're working from home. It could be anything. I'm not trying to judge you, but I'm just saying that those are some of the creature comforts that a lot of people desire, especially if you have a high-paying job. All of this is not going to happen in Canada unless you really are getting paid very well, or really making a lot of money. It will be all DIY. You will be shoveling your snow if you have a house. You will be washing or cleaning your own dishes, and I have the biggest problem with that. My hands are still, yeah. So you'll be cleaning your own dishes. You'll be washing your own dishes. You'll be cleaning your own house. You'll be cooking your own food. You will be doing everything which you would otherwise have somebody else to do it for you. Again, if you're from a high-paying job, especially from the Asian countries, that is one of the biggest mind shift that people have a problem, dealing with. Secondly, when you come to Canada, there will be a lot of situations, a lot of industry types where you may not find the same kind of job title or job responsibility that you are used to back in your home country. You may have to start with, I won't say scratch, but you might have to start somewhere quite lower down the rung and then make your way up, because Canadian employers feel that their business operates in a different manner. And if you do not have the Canadian experience, then you obviously will not be able to perform in the same manner. Now, that is not true in a lot of cases, because certain skill sets can be transferred. For example, if you're in IT industry, well, Java is Java, Python is Python, whether it's in India, whether it's in Canada, it's the same language, and there's going to be nothing different in how you code or how you write a program. It's not going to change. But if there is soft skills involved, if there is any technicalities or regulatory requirements involved, doctors, nurses, accountants, lawyers, any engineers, then they obviously first need to be certified, first need to be qualified before they can perform that job. So those are some of the things that you need to be able to take care of. But for me, I left a very high-paid, cushy job, but I had different reasons to come to Canada, and I've never regretted it once. I love it. I love every single moment of it. I'm into a total different field that I never thought I would venture out. So, for example, and I've started in Canada quite late. Think late 40s. I am 52 now. my age is 52, so I started quite late in my career. So this is absolutely new career. So I think of it like Canada gives you that opportunity to press the reset button in your life. A lot of people are scared to do it because of the insecurity of how the life will react to them, or how people will react to them, how community will react to them, how your parents will react to you, how your children will react to you. So a lot of people are scared of pressing the reset button and starting all over again and saying, okay, let's see how this path or where this path will take. I was very happy to do it, and I am so glad I did it. But again, it all depends from one person to another person. And suggestion would be to come, settle down a bit, as I take a look and see what it is. Meet with like-minded people from your community, from from your occupation. Discuss with them. If you can find some mentors, that would be great. If you can connect with somebody on the LinkedIn in a similar occupation that you are, and discuss with them what they feel, what they think, what the opportunities are looking like. And if that makes sense to you, then I think Canada is absolutely an incredible place to be. With that, I thank everybody here who is taking their time to join in and listen to my gibberish. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. If you're still here, do consider subscribing to the channel, and take care. And I wish you all the very, very best. All the very best. Stay safe. Take care, and I shall see you next time.